Okay, this is section 6.3, page 3. And we have an example, and we are going to figure out how to do division. Understand the rule. So we have 5 halves divided by 1 half. So what is that asking us? That's asking us how many 1 halves are in 5 halves. Just like if we do 6 divided by 3. That's asking you how many 3s are in 6. And what do we answer? Well, there's 2. That's what division means. So here, this is asking us how many 1 halves are in 5 halves. Well, one way to do that is by repeated subtraction. We know division is repeated subtraction. So we take our 5 halves and we subtract 1 half over and over until we have nothing left. So 5 halves minus 1 half, well, we know that we subtract the numerators, leave the denominator the same. And we just keep doing this. And I should have written smaller. Not happy about this at all. Okay, so how many? This is 1 we're doing here, we're subtracting. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the answer would be 5. We subtracted 1 half 5 times. So we would say 5 halves divided by 1 half is equal to 5. Okay, so that's probably hard to see the rule. Let's do another example of how we're going to go about this. Area model is another one. So when we look at this, we need to label this as here we are 0. Now we have 1 hole. Now we have 2 holes. Now we have 3 holes. Notice I've already divvied it up. How do I know how to divvy it up? Well, we're trying to divide by 1 half. So we want each of these pieces to be 1 half so that we can count them up. So we take a whole and we divide it into 2 equal pieces. The denominator tells us how many equal pieces to divide it into. So we're going to start off with 5 halves. So how much would 5 halves be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. So let me just shade this part here. Okay. Okay, so that is 5 halves, right? So let's represent that by, that's 5 halves. You can divide that and see that you do have 2.5. So that total shaded area is 5 halves. Now, what are we trying to do? We're trying to figure out how many 1 halves are in there. Well, when we look at this, this is 1 half right here. This is 1 half right here. We're just counting up the halves. You can count them in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. So we can see there that we have 5. So again, 5 halves divided by 1 half is equal to 5. So let's write here. There are 5. If I write 1 halves, it's going to be weird. So 5 of these. Okay, so hopefully you can see all that. All right, so on to the next problem now. We're going to do the same thing. So here we have 3 1/3 divided by 5/6 is asking us how many 5/6 are in 3 1/3. All right, so we need to start off with 3 1/3. Well, that's going to be kind of hard to subtract 5/6 from it because we're going to do the repeated subtraction. So let's go ahead and calculate what 3 1/3 is first. So now I'm going to move it this way a little bit. So 3 1/3, what's that equal to? Well, that's equal to 3 times 3 plus 1, right? 3 times 3 plus 1 over 3 if we're converting into an improper. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 more is 10. So 10/3 is what we get for 3 1/3. So we're going to start here with 10/3. And we're going to subtract off 5/6. I see another problem. We don't have the same denominator. So let's go over here and now convert to get, move it over 10/3. We need a denominator of what? Denominator of 6 because we're subtracting off 5/6. So how do we do that? To get from 3 to 6, we need 2. If we do it to the denominator, we've got to do it to the numerator. So we get there 26. Okay, so let's start this part all over again. We have 26, and we're subtracting off 5/6. It's kind of hard to say. Okay, so when we subtract it there, what do we get? We get 15/6. Then we needed to do it again, minus 5/6. And what do we get? Let's make these really long. Okay, then we get 10/6. And then we have to do it again, subtract off 5/6. And what do we get? 5/6. And do it again. What do we get? Well, finally 0. How many times do we do this? We did it once, twice, 3, 4 times. So that is our answer. We just found that 3 1/3 divided by 5/6 equals 4. So that means there are 4 5/6 in 3 1/3. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. Now let's go ahead and look at the area model. Excuse me. Okay, for the area model, how do we start this? Well, first we have to think about, our holes. So we have 4 whole pieces. Now you can see I've already done the divvying up, dividing into equal pieces. So if we look at this, why did I choose to divide it into thirds? Well, we're taking 3 1/3, okay? So we have to represent what 3 1/3 is. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then we add on another third. So I'm going to go ahead and shade that. Okay, so this is the part we're talking about first. Okay, so that is 3 1/3. Oops, I didn't go quite far enough, did I? I need the third here too. All right, so this is 3 1/3. Okay, now what we'd like to do is figure out how many 5/6 we have. Well, this isn't done in sixths, it's done in thirds. So what you see down below here is me converting this now to sixths. Okay, so this is still, I'm going to put this up above. We still have, the same thing here, 4 holes, but we've divided it into 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces. Now let's go ahead and shade. We still have this whole piece. Well, let's just let's think about what we want to do before we do this. They're asking us to find out how many 5/6 are in this whole thing. So we know we're going for this whole box here, okay? From 0 all the way up to here. Now, but I don't want to, let's try to illustrate our shading. We want 5/6 that we're supposed to be finding. How many are those? So let's just shade those at a time. So if I look here and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a group of 5/6. So let's shade it that way. Okay, then let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's pick a different color this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. That's how many I'm doing. So we're doing it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I want this whole guy. Okay, then let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's draw a line there. That makes it easier for me to see. Okay, and let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so each one of these is 5/6. This is 5/6. This is 5/6. This is 5/6, and the last one. So this whole piece is 3 1/3. How many times can we take 5/6 out? 4 times. So we would say 3 1/3 divided by 5/6 is equal to 4. So hopefully you remember how you go about doing this. That the rule says that when you're dividing fractions, you go ahead and you keep the first one as is, okay? And then you change the sign to multiplication. So change the sign to multiplication and then flip the second fraction or take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Okay, so my kids learned when they were in school, keep, change, flip. Keep the first one the same, change the sign, and flip the second fraction. So this flipping that we call, it's called a reciprocal. So if we have C over D, the reciprocal of that is D over C. Of course, we can't have any of the denominators 0. So here's our rule. Let's make sure that it actually works. So let's try it here. So we take 5 halves, we keep the same, change the sign to multiplication, flip the second one, 2 over 1. Then if we multiply straight across, we're going to get 10 over 2, and then simplify that, it's 5. So notice that we get the same answer using our pictures or our repeated subtraction that we do when we use the rule. So here is the rule. Okay, so let's look at this one here and make sure that it follows here as well. So here if we were doing 3 1/3, so this is using the rule. 3 1/3 divided by 5/6. The first thing we had to do was convert this into 10/3 divided by 5/6. Then we keep the first one, change the sign to multiplication, flip the second one. When we multiply straight across. We get 10 times 6 or 60 divided by 3 times 5 or 15. And what's 60 divided by 15? 4. So no matter which way we do it, we get the same answer. So the rule is correct. Go ahead and do your classworks and then move on to the next page.